Hello, my name is Philip Johnston. I'm the CEO of Trackwise Designs PLC, here with my colleague Mark Hodgkins, who's the CFO of the business. So Trackwise, we are a UK-based manufacturer of specialist products using printed circuit technology. The Trackwise Designs Limited, as it was formed in 1989, so we've just celebrated 30 years. We have recently acquired Stevenage Circuits, who were formed in 1972, so just about to celebrate 50 years, so two established businesses. And between us, with roughly 100 employees, roughly 50 on each site, we manufacture a full range of advanced printed circuits, ranging from our improved harness technology, which is our globally unique patented technology we'll go on to talk about, through a full range of advanced PCBs. These PCBs are used by a very wide customer base in a wide range of markets, and again, we'll talk a bit more about the markets. So this is the business strategy. The vision of the business is to build Trackwise into the preeminent interconnect partner to the world's leading innovators, with IHT integral to EVs, electric vehicles, aerospace and medical. Mark and I will go on to describe these market opportunities and our progress in achieving this vision in greater detail. This vision is to be based upon the sustained and sustainable foundation of the supply of RF, radio frequency products, into the 4G and 5G telecom network infrastructure. This foundation has certainly been broadened and strengthened by the recent acquisition of Stevenage Circuits. Delivering on this vision will drive growth. With the IPO and the recent fundraise, we continue to grow, to develop our capability and capacity to deliver IHT and more broadly to deliver our vision. We'll go on to describe the very large growth opportunities in front of us. Of course, the objective of this strategy is to deliver shareholder value. I remain the largest shareholder, and while you might expect me to say this, I remain very excited about the growth opportunities in front of us. So a little bit about the RF business. So it was back in 1995 that a local Gloucestershire company first approached Trackwise to make a 9-foot-long printed circuit board, one of the early GSM 900 base station antennas. So around the towns and countryside, a mobile phone base station mast, and on top of these masts are the long grey cigar-shaped boxes, the antennas that transmit and receive your calls, and Facebook status updates. Trackwise printed circuits, one shown here on this image on the right, go inside the antenna, very precise, very repeatable, printed and etched copper patterns that define the antenna performance. I acquired the business in 2000 and turned our attention to export markets. We fairly soon after won a Queen's Award for export and ever since have continued to supply these specialist products, not really conventional printed circuit boards, but rather printed antennas, to the world's antenna manufacturers. We're therefore a tier 2 or tier 3 supplier to the likes of Vodafone and Sprint in the US. The RF division manufactures not just mobile phone infrastructure, it also serves customers in multiple different RF applications, shipborne radar, aircraft guidance radars, debugging devices, high-powered CO2 lasers, amongst many others. While this is a fairly narrow specialism, that specialism supports the margins of the business. Trackwise is a recognised expert in this field and has enjoyed long-term relationships with key customers. Until the IPO, the RF business was the main investor in IHT development. The product is a globalised and relatively commoditised one, but it remains a profitable operation for the business. While there remains a good deal of controversy surrounding 5G equipment, there's no doubt that the rollout of 5G will come, and we expect this will continue to underpin the RF business. Part of the rationale to acquire Stevenage Circuits was to transfer the RF production from Tewkesbury to Stevenage, thereby freeing up capacity at Tewkesbury for IHT production, and this transfer is underway, and we'll talk about this a bit more in a minute. So IHT, improved harness technology. So a flexible printed circuit was developed as a weight and space-saving alternative to conventional wire harness in the 1950s, and the proven benefits have resulted in them becoming a multi-billion-dollar global industry. Due to supply chain limits, the vast majority of the world's PCB manufacturers are limited in size to 2 foot, 610 millimeters in length or less. These benefits have largely been confined to inside a box or equipment, inside your mobile phone, inside your laptop, inside an avionics box. And Trackwise innovation has changed all of this. The fundamental premise of IHT is length unlimited. rather than the supply chain limits determining where flex can or cannot be used. With IHT, it's the customer requirement only that determines the size of product. IHT therefore opens up the application of these proven benefits of flex PCBs to wing level harnesses, to fuselage level harnesses as far as aircraft are concerned. As one of the main benefits of flex as a wire harness replacement is weight saving, 60, 70, 80% of weight, and a modern aircraft contains many hundreds of kilometers of wire. The weight, energy, carbon saving potential is clear. Sustainability is a major drive in the aircraft industry. UK aviation is committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050, and electrification of aviation is a major opportunity for IHT. You'll see at the bottom of this slide, Trackwise filed a patent in all of the main airframe and manufacturing locations. We have achieved pretty good progress in achieving these grants of these patents. It's only Brazil, i.e. for Embraer, which remains a patent in process. So we talk in the next slide in greater length in regard to competition and protection of our IP. The question regarding competition is twofold. Can we achieve revenue, and can we sustain and grow revenue over time? In reality, no change is the biggest initial competition, particularly for a conservative industry like mainstream aviation. Aircraft have been wired in fundamentally the same manner since an electrical subsystem was first installed in an aircraft, and the power of the incumbent in such an industry is significant. That's why the advent of all-electric aviation and new air transport business models is so important. With regard to PCB competitors, as I've mentioned before, the vast majority of the world's manufacturers are limited in size to 2 foot, 600 millimeters in length or less. A very limited number of suppliers worldwide offer long flex, and even fewer offer large multilayer flex, but only Trackwise offer lengths unlimited multilayer, and this is the subject of Trackwise's patent. The patent are the public-facing aspect of competitive advantage, but since Trackwise first filed the patent application, the research and development of all aspects of the know-how surrounding manufacture of long flex has continued and is continuing, and this know-how is the key barrier to entry and therefore to sustainability. So we've got a fairly large size of accumulated intellectual assets on our balance sheet, and this represents the investment in the know-how, which we believe is the key to future sustainability. Other competing interconnect technologies do exist, FFC or flat flexible cables and additive layer printing, for example. These are strong in some areas but don't offer the full range of proven benefits that can be achieved by the use of flex PCBs. So since the IPO, we've invested our investees' money in enhancing our capability and capacity to deliver IHT, notably in 3 pieces of key pieces of manufacturing equipment, all delivering an integrated roll-to-roll manufacturing capability. The image on the bottom left is the vertical continuous plating line, we think only of its kind in Europe, a roll-to-roll laser drill route on the top right-hand corner, and not shown here, a roll-to-roll direct imaging. So one of the main COVID impacts on Trackwise has been the delay in commissioning the new roll-to-roll direct imaging. The French supplier has been unable to travel to Tewkesbury to help us install the machine, so we've had to do that remotely. I'm happy to advise this is now very largely complete. This particular bit of equipment is a very significant step forward in both capability and capacity, giving us roughly 6 times the productivity of our current supply. So this roll-to-roll manufacture not only helps us to deliver length unlimited, but also, importantly, is a cost-effective volume manufacturer for shorter pieces, suitable, for example, for electric vehicles. So now Mark will take you through the financial overview of the 2019 performance.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Our revenues for the year were 2.9 million, which was down on last year and were somewhat disappointing, although IHT revenues were better than last year and were 55% ahead. Our revenues for RF were depleted by 3 things. In particular, there was the Sprint T-Mobile merger delays. Our largest customer in Ireland is a big supplier to Sprint, and their revenues were depressed, and so were ours, and that cost us a big chunk of revenues in the second half of last year. The Brexit shenanigans that went on all through the year, from Mrs May through to Boris Johnson, cost us dear. Some of our customers in Europe didn't want to trade with us because of the risk of trading with an English company and what fallout there might be. And then there was the difficulties between the United States and China and the impact that had on the telecoms market, where some of our competitors in China were producing product that was below the price we could buy materials for. So all of those effects manifested themselves in the second half of last year. Having said that, we invested heavily in our IHT technical capability and capacity. As Philip has already mentioned, we now have completed all the investments we need to have roll-to-roll production of IHT. And we have also spent considerable amounts of money on developing our know-how and technologies generally. During the year, we were approached by a number of medical appliance companies, and that sector of business has emerged as our second sector, and where we're spending considerable amount of time on customer accretion. We have already supplied samples to some of those customers. In August of 2019, we signed a collaboration agreement with GKN Aerospace, and we hope that that collaboration will lead to some revenues perhaps in 2022 and beyond. So moving on to our cash position, which is a very important aspect of business right at the moment. At the end of the year, we had £567,000 worth of cash, but net debt of £300,000, and all the debt was to do with asset finance. We had no bank debt. At the end of May, following the placing in March, we had 4.1 million of cash and net cash of 2.4 million. As you know, in March we had a placing and raised 5.87 million gross and 5.2 million net, and of that we spent 2 million on the acquisition of Stevenage Circuits. The owners of Stevenage Circuits left behind £600,000 of the cash, so our net cash cost was 1.4 million. Just to bring you up to date, cash balances at the end of June were 3.2 million, and we also had undrawn facilities of 600,000 at HSBC. You won't be surprised to know that during the completion of our accounts and the signing off of the audit report, our auditors put our forecasts for cash through a lot of stress tests, and I'm confident, and the auditors are confident, that we will have sufficient cash to see us through to June 2021. In fact, I think we'll have the same amount of cash as we have now. Clearly, COVID-19 has been a big issue for current trading. We continue to operate throughout the period, adhering to government guidance where appropriate. We had impact on our suppliers, and that delayed some capital expenditure installation, which Philip has already spoken about. That's now behind us and the machine is installed. We also had some disruption to our normal trading patterns, and March, as you might imagine, and April were quite difficult, although trading patterns have become more resilient of late, if not subdued. We had one particular impact from COVID on one of our customers, and that was our EV customer, where deliveries to them have been delayed because they were closed for a significant amount of time. Although we've got subdued RF performance at the moment, the momentum at Stevenage Circuits is good, and we've had a number of significant wins since our acquisition. Overall, though, we think that our revenues for the year will be lower, and you will have seen a note by our brokers reducing our sales this year from 11 to 9.7. However, most of that reduction is the removal of low margin business from our China partners, and we've been able to replace that business with higher margin business. So overall, we think we will maintain our profits as indicated at the start of the year, but our revenues will be lower. So the big story of the year so far, of course, is the acquisition of Stevenage Circuits Limited, and this is a really big opportunity for Trackwise. We have done it because we needed to find a way of increasing our capacity at our site in Tewkesbury, and buying Stevenage allows us to move that capacity that we consume with RF in Tewkesbury to Stevenage. The business is a manufacturer of short flex, rigid and flex rigid PCBs. They were established in 1972 and were a family business, and only had asset finance as debt. We thought they were a good opportunity, and we completed the purchase, as you know. The employees in the company have a very high level of technical capability, and the knowledge they have gained over the last 30 years of making short flex will assist us greatly in the manufacture of large, long flex that we are now doing in Tewkesbury. They have a large facility in Stevenage, and they had spare capacity, and that was the big draw for us, and we've made the most of it. We've already started transferring business to Stevenage. Their exposure to markets was very similar to ours. They're stronger in industrial controls, but aerospace, medical, communications and space were all markets that we know well. And they have low customer concentration, and 68% of their revenues are earned in the UK. whereas 70% of Trackwise revenues are earned abroad. We thought that was a good balance. In the year to September 2019, the company turned over £6.5 million and had an adjusted EBITDA of £356,000. Bear in mind, we paid a net price of £1.4 million in cash, although there is some deferred consideration to pay if performance meets the standards we have set in the purchase agreement. So there are a number of benefits of acquiring Stevenage Circuits, and the most important one is the capacity that it allows us to free up in Ashvale in Tewkesbury. And the second one is the combination of the sales operations. Stevenage Circuits have over 600 customers, 40 or 50 of which are very large and are customers that would be interested in acquiring IHT product. We have already had a number of interesting conversations with those customers, and some quotes have already been made to customers of SCL to sell IHT product. We think this is only a start and indicates good fortune for the future. We have said that this acquisition will be immediately earnings enhancing, and nothing since acquisition has led us to think otherwise. Just a little bit more on the integration of SCL. We had a 100-day plan, which has just about come to an end. Most of the actions that we wanted to get done, we've got done. One or two bit of tidying up to do. A little bit of softness was inherited, not surprisingly given COVID, but it's trading profitably and cash generatively, and Q3 and Q4 are building nicely. We should complete the transfer of the RF business to Stevenage from Tewkesbury on plan by the 30th of September. As I've said already, the sales teams are well integrated, and we've had a number of significant sales wins since acquisition.
So we'll now just talk a bit about the increasing market acceptance of IHT. I warn you I could talk all day about this, so I'll try and keep it to the point. A key metric on the bottom of this slide is the growing number of customers and collaborations. So this has grown from 45 roughly a year ago to 72 today. So the pipeline is certainly strong. And you will see from this slide that the opportunities represented by IHT cover a very wide range of business areas and different applications. As expected, electric vehicles are emerging as the first scale-up opportunity for IHT and Trackwise. From a strategic perspective, the automotive operational excellence necessary to serve this market, developed in parallel with our aerospace qualification, will equip Trackwise in improved harness technology to serve the emerging all-electric UAM sector, in turn leading to the large volume and longer-term opportunity of mainstream aviation. And medical catheters have recently emerged as an important and exciting opportunity. So you will have seen the RNS in April advising of a first order in support of our electric vehicles customers' start of production. The customer is a startup valued at €3 billion by €100 million investment from Hyundai Kia. Their lead product is a 12-ton bus, only in the public domain since a couple of weeks ago, and a 4-ton white van replacement for which they recently announced a 10,000 order from UPS. The RNS was for a first production order in support of their start of production. Trackwise is continuing to negotiate, and just to be clear, we have not signed that contract yet for a multi-year agreement. But part of our strategy for moving the RF production from Tewkesbury to Stevenage was the support of giving us the capacity at Tewkesbury to meet that demand. The wider opportunity represented by the growing demand for electric vehicles, represented by British Volt, who have announced their intent to build a gigafactory in South Wales. This is to build millions of individual cells, which will be built into battery modules and then into battery packs and then into cars. The wider opportunity for Trackwise and IHT is to meet the demand for interconnect and control of these millions of cells. So a very exciting opportunity. Civil aviation remains, in my opinion, the natural end application for IHT. It does, however, remain a very conservative and risk-averse industry. As I've mentioned, sustainability is a key driver for the industry. We announced last year the signing of a collaboration agreement with GKN. So this is for electrothermal ice protection. So along the leading edge of wings, if you fly through a cold cloud, ice will build up on the aerofoil and can spoil the aerodynamics. So some technology is required to melt that ice. So GKN have been working on what they call their Type 8 electrothermal ice protection for many years now, and Trackwise have been collaborating with them, And the collaboration agreement that we signed is for the final stage of that development, the industrialization, culminating in the proving to themselves and to the market that they can build this Type 8 at production rate. So whilst particularly in the light of the current COVID impacts on the aerospace industry, that there's no guarantee as to when we will enter into service with this product, it's certainly we believe our quickest route into mainstream aviation, and certainly the last phase in GKN's development of this exciting technology. The COVID impact on aerospace is an interesting one, and one impact that we're aware of is the fact that older aircraft are being retired. The French government have announced a €15 billion stimulus to the French aerospace industry to accelerate new greener technologies. And so we are optimistic that this retirement of older technologies may well act as a pull-through for IHT into aerospace. And part of that announcement was the development of the successor to the A320. And to my mind, that is a very big news story for European aerospace. Medical catheters have emerged as a significant opportunity for IHT. At the moment, catheters use very tiny micro wires to connect remote electronics to the base unit, and long, up to 2 meters, very narrow, very thin track PCBs offer significant manufacturing improvements to the device manufacturer. Trackwise has active developments with 2 multi-billion-dollar US medical OEMs and also with some European technology developers. This has the potential to become a very large product line for Trackwise, and again can and will be delivered using the same manufacturing assets, the same know-how. You will see here that a very wide range of industrial products have been and are being delivered to IHT customers, from oil pipeline leak detection, sewer monitoring, through to nuclear fusion and highly efficient motor windings. Our ongoing contract with CERN is proceeding to plan. So really, in summary of the previous slide, our 3 strategic pillars: electric vehicles, medical and civil aviation, each one of which represent a very significant upside opportunity for the business and for IHT. These wildly different markets and customers can be served using the same manufacturing assets, the same know-how, and this remains a natural risk mitigation in case of stalled or stopped progress in any one of these avenues. So, in summary, the pandemic has been and continues to be a stressful time for everybody, and while the UK lockdown appears to be easing, global numbers are firmly on the rise, and we must all be aware that significant macro uncertainties remain. We as the directors of Trackwise continue to manage the risks under our own control, principally the health and safety of our own staff, to the best of our ability. Stevenage Circuits is a good business. Mark has bought it well. We're well underway with our integration plans. The transfer of the RF business to Stevenage will improve operational gearing at Stevenage and free up manufacturing capacity at Tewkesbury for IHT production, for which the IPO investments have put us in an excellent position to meet. The IHT pipeline is strong and continues to grow. Aerospace has clearly been hit hard by COVID, but this could yet represent an opportunity for Trackwise and IHT. EV and medical devices are proceeding well. Each one of these on their own are a very significant upside opportunity. RF remains challenging. We've got some good new opportunities emerging in the US, but until the Huawei issue is resolved and 5G rollout gets underway, we expect and we are forecasting relatively low growth. The capabilities brought in-house by the acquisition of Stevenage represent good new opportunities for our RF business. So we believe our strategy is sound. We're well underway in addressing it, and that strategy has been significantly strengthened by the acquisition of Stevenage Circuits. So this is the list of significant shareholders in place at the moment. I remain the largest shareholder. Octopus followed their IPO investment and now have a substantial stake in the business. New investors who came in the current round include Herald Investment Management and Richard Sneller, an experienced private investor. So we're very grateful to current and future shareholders for their support to the business and helping us achieve our strategic objectives. That concludes our presentation. Thank you very much for listening.